Welcome back, and in today's video I'm going to tell you why this computer right here is the greatest computer you can purchase if you find it for the right price. If you haven't already noticed, this is a Mac Pro. It's either 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010. They all look the exact same, although a little pro tip, if you look right here on a Mac Pro 2009, 2010, this FireWire port is going to be the exact same up here as it is down here. So they're both rectangles, and this one's like a little, I think it's a six-sided object, whatever that is. That'd be a hexagon. It's not quite a hexagon, it's just a six-sided object. The CPUs inside of this thing are the E5462s. They're Xeon processors, but they were released in 2008, which makes them 10-year-old CPUs, and most of the time a 10-year-old CPU is laughable at best. However, when you have two of them, it's actually not too bad. Single core scores are around 2100, while the multi-core scores are around 11,660. And while that's not terribly great by today's standards, the multi-core score is respectable, and it's good enough to do some 1080p video editing, but don't expect to be gaming at 4K at 60 frames per second with these things. So the RAM is slow. It runs at 800 megahertz. The graphics card is lousy. It's a 10-year-old graphics card. It's got PCI 2.0 by 16, so it's older. CPUs are 10 years old. It's only got 3 of the hard drives. Why is this the greatest computer ever built? And the reason is because the CD/DVD drive. No, I'm just joking. But the reason it's the best computer ever built is because it's a Mac that's upgradable, and that's so exciting to me. So when you look at this thing, it's upgradable. The CPU is upgradable, the RAM's obviously upgradable, the storage solutions are upgradable, and even the graphics card is upgradable. Literally everything on this computer is upgradable. And why did Apple stray away from this? I have no idea. They probably thought this design was way too good looking. But honestly, I have no idea. If you look at the 2013 Mac Pro, it's upgradable, the CPU is. If you rip the whole thing apart, it's technically upgradable, but it's very hard to do so, and it's very expensive. These CPUs in the same top of the line are like $30 a pair. The RAM to get 64 gigabytes is probably going to cost you under $100, and you don't need 64 gigabytes of RAM on this thing. That's the same amount of storage I have in my iPhone 8 Plus right now. And the PCI 2.0 by 16 is actually only 5 to 7% slower than PCI 3.0 by 16, which is interesting. So you're not going to get the full bandwidth of your card. However, you're going to be so close to it that you're only going to notice a dip in frames by about 3 to 4 when playing at about 60 frames per second or higher, which is awesome. And while you could build a PC with today's parts that's going to be way more powerful than this, cost probably a little bit less, it's not going to natively run Mac OS. There's nothing you can buy for this cheap that's going to be able to run Mac OS natively without making it a Hackintosh. This thing, I found 2 of them for $75 on Craigslist. They were both broken. I was able to fix both of them. And then you could sell one. I sold one for $220. That gives me $145 to upgrade this thing with, and I'm just breaking even. Now that's not going to happen every time, I understand, but if you find a broken one of these things, they're relatively easy to fix, and the parts for these things are so cheap that if you need to replace some RAM or maybe even a CPU or one of the graphics cards, it's so cheap because it's so old, but still it's relatively powerful by today's standard. At the end of the day, I know some people might laugh when I think that this thing is one of the best computers of all time and still usable in today's standards, but most people just need to browse the web, check emails, watch YouTube, and maybe edit the occasional video, and this thing's going to be able to do all of that. And most of the time you can find these on Craigslist or Letgo or Give Up or OfferUp or whatever for under $200, and with a little bit of upgrading, which is fun to do, or I think it's fun to do at least, you can turn this into a respectable machine that runs Mac OS natively for a lot cheaper than you could buy a MacBook 4, an iMac 4, or even the newer Mac Pros for, and obviously cheaper than an iMac Pro. So that's why I think this is one of the greatest computers of all time and still holds up in 2018. So to wrap everything up, I think you should upgrade the GPU in this thing. I think you should upgrade the CPUs to X5482s. That's going to give you the best performance. I think you should go buy 32 gigabytes of ECC DDR2 memory down there. And I think you should buy this computer. It's not the best computer you can buy for the price, but I think it's the most fun, and it's a Mac, so you know that when you buy it this year, you could sell it next year or the year after that and get most of your money back. Plus, the hard drives are so easy to take out that it's not that difficult to sell. Thank you for watching and sticking around. If you want to see my written article about this, I'll leave a link in the description, and I'll see you in the next one.